All right, let's get one thing straight. This is not about rockets. It's not about cars. It's about the mental operating system Elon Musk uses to build all of it. And today, we're going to show you how to install it for yourself.
So what if you could upgrade the single most powerful machine you own? Yep, your brain. See, Musk runs on a few core principles. They're what he uses to shape reality, to build his companies, to make every single decision. So, you know what? Let's break them down.
Okay, time to upgrade your human OS. We're breaking down 3 of Musk's fundamental rules for reality. Let's jump right into rule number 1.
Rule number 1, build a collective brain. Now, what does that even mean? Well, for Musk, the next great leap for humanity isn't going to be individual. Nope, it's collective. It's all about building something way bigger than any single one of us.
You know, Musk puts it pretty bluntly himself. He says, a single human cannot make a spaceship, but a collection of humans can. And that's the whole point, right? He knows he can't build a rocket alone. No one can. The complexity is just, it's insane for one mind to handle. And recognizing that limitation, that's the starting line for this entire way of thinking. So, how do you actually solve a problem that big? Well, Musk has this incredible simple analogy. Think about it. You started as just one single cell, and now you're literally trillions of cells, all working together as one human. A single cell can't dream of building a rocket, but you can. He's betting that the exact same kind of leap happens when we connect billions of humans into one single intelligence.
And this leads to what he calls a collective consciousness. But hold on, it's not just about hooking everyone up to the internet. The key, the absolute game changer here, is the quality of the information flowing between us. Get that right, make it better, and the entire system gets smarter, faster, and just better. Okay, so here's your takeaway. This is what you can do today. Look at your team, look at your company. Where's the friction? Where does information get stuck or distorted? Your job is to make that flow of information more direct, more honest, and a whole lot faster. That's how you start building your own collective brain. All right, rule number 2. This one builds on the first, but let's just say it's a bit more provocative. We're talking about a future that is probably a lot closer than you think. So what's the prediction? Musk thinks that in less than 20 years, having a job will be optional. We're not talking about a 4-day work week. No. We're talking a 0-day work week. If you want it, work becomes a hobby, not something you have to do to survive. Welcome to what you could call the post-work society. I'm talking about a future where AI and robotics can create literally any good or service you can possibly imagine. In Musk's own words, his prediction is simple. If you can think of it, you can have it. And look, the logic here is actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, AI and robotics keep getting better, exponentially. Step 2, this causes an absolute explosion in the production of, well, everything. And step 3, with all that abundance, human labor just isn't needed for survival anymore. It becomes a choice, a hobby. So this brings us to the big question for you, and you need to really think about this. If your job disappeared tomorrow, but your income was totally guaranteed, what would you do with your time? Seriously, your task is to find what gives you a sense of purpose that has nothing to do with a paycheck, and you need to start now, because honestly, that's probably the defining question of our lifetime. Which brings us to our final rule. Rule number 3. Play the most interesting game. Now, this one is the most philosophical of the bunch. But think about it. If work is optional and we're all connected, how do you decide what to do with your life? Well, this rule is a seriously powerful tool for making those choices. Okay, let's just get into it. Are we living in a simulation? You've probably heard Musk talk about this, and it's easy to dismiss it as just some sci-fi fantasy. But for him, this is not just some nerdy theory. It's actually a super useful thought experiment for how to live your life. Just think about this for a second. 50 years ago, the peak of video games was Pong, right? 2 little rectangles and a dot. Today, we've got photorealistic worlds with millions of people playing at once. Now, just project that trend forward. Where does it end? It seems almost inevitable that games will eventually become completely indistinguishable from reality. So if that's true, what are the odds that we happen to be in the one original base reality, and not one of the billions of simulations that are sure to follow? And that brings us to the core principle here. If we are in a simulation, it was probably created for a reason, right? It was meant to be interesting. I mean, think about it from the simulator's point of view. What happens to boring simulations? They get deleted. Only the interesting ones get to keep running. So Musk's conclusion is simple but powerful. The most interesting outcome is the most likely outcome.
So what's the action item here? It's actually incredibly simple. The next time you're faced with a choice, doesn't matter if it's big or small, just ask yourself one question. Which path makes for a more interesting story? That's the game now. Your job is to play the version that the simulators would actually want to watch.
So let's recap. There you have it. 3 rules to upgrade your reality. Number 1, build a collective brain by mastering the flow of information. Number 2, prepare for optional work by figuring out your purpose beyond a paycheck. And number 3, play the most interesting game by always choosing the more interesting story. But why? Why do any of this? For Musk, it all comes down to one single unifying goal: to expand the scope and scale of consciousness. It's about making humanity smarter together, because he believes that's the only way we can even begin to ask the right questions about the biggest question of all: what is the nature of the universe? And so that leaves you with one last question. Right now, when this is over, you're gonna face a choice. We all do. The boring path or the interesting one? Which one are you gonna choose?